computer. Good afternoon, and welcome to Straight Talking with Kelly, where real conversations happen. This is where you'll meet some of the most intelligent, talented, and creative people who come to share tips, resources, and knowledge on various topics. Join me today in welcoming my guest, Ericka Scott. Ericka is the founder and owner of Honey Art Studio, and we're going to talk about why it's so important to the Black community. So welcome, Ericka.
Hi, Kelly. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. So Ericka, before we get into a little bit about our conversation, I'd like to read a little bit of your background, okay?
Okay.
Ericka is a native San Franciscan that grew up in the Fillmore Western Addition. She currently is the director of district programs for the San Francisco African American Art and Cultural District. She is also a consultant instructor at Renaissance Entrepreneurship Center. She studied she studied American Studies with an emphasis on urban development at the University of California of Berkeley. She is the founder, owner of Honey Art Studio, a space that acknowledges Black people's creativity, longevity, ingenuity, and faith. Through various forms of art and economic development, she highlights and uplifts the culture. Yes, indeed, she does. And I can't wait for us to get a little bit more into the conversation just to find out why Honey Art Studio is important to the community. So Ericka, let's walk down memory lane a little bit before we get into our conversation. Now, I would like for you to tell the story how we really reconnected. So you tell that story.
Okay. How we reconnected. Okay.
Yes.
So I was working as a consultant with the Renaissance Entrepreneurship Center. I still do. And our director was gonna go and teach a class. And at the last minute, he couldn't. So he asked me if I could teach the class. So I said, sure. He said it was a class at San Francisco City College, and in their, I think, fashion department. And It was the instructor had asked for someone to come in and teach her class on marketing. So that's something I do a lot of times. So I was excited to do it. So I walked into the classroom, and lo and behold, I saw Kelly Armstrong. And I was so excited. And, you know, Kelly is so personable. So she's like, hey, good to see you. But I can tell she didn't feel the same excitement that I felt. And it's only because she just didn't remember at that time, because she was my first, Kelly, you were my first instructor when I started the Renaissance Entrepreneurship Program. Yeah. I was a student long before I was a consultant instructor. And like I said, you were my introduction into the foundations of entrepreneurship, which started off with personal development and self-esteem. Yeah. And you were that instructor. And again, like my introduction to this world. And so I can never forget you. And I know you make an impact on a lot of people's lives like mine. So I understood that you didn't quite remember me, but I surely remembered you. And it was so good to see you. And that was almost 7 years ago?
That was longer than that.
Longer than that. It's been a while.
Yeah. And we've been real connected. And you're right, because Marcus Tart used to actually come and do the workshops with me at City College. And yeah, and so not only am I a graduate of San Francisco Renaissance myself, then I also taught there. And so, yeah, you're right. I did have a lot of people coming in. And just over the years, because I'm a teacher, I've been teaching so many people, it is hard to remember everyone. But when you kept looking at me, and I was like, okay, she knows me. I want to know why. So it was a great connection. And we've been in touch ever since. And we've done some amazing things together that we hopefully will talk about as we go on with the interview. So now, Ericka, I would like for you to tell us a little bit about your background, like where were you born and raised, and what schools did you go to?
Okay, so I was born in San Francisco. Originally, until I was about 11, I lived in Lakeview, OMI district of San Francisco, where my mom and her family lived for many years. And then we moved over to Fillmore. My mom and dad was actually able to purchase a home. And actually, before my mom moved to Lakeview, her mother lived in a house right across the street
Oh,
from
wow.
years later, where my parents bought the home where I actually ended up staying and growing up from the age of 11. Again, it was in the Fillmore district. And as far as schools are concerned, I went to a lot of schools, and education was huge in our family, both sides, my mom and my dad. My mom wanted us to go to private school, but there was times later on she became a single parent, and just according to what she could afford. So
Okay.
sometimes we were in private school and sometimes we went to public school. So yeah, I went to school all over San Francisco pretty much. And again, when we were younger in the Lakeview, and then I went to Dr. William L. Cobb Elementary. I went to Marina Middle School, and then a private school in the Avenue, St. Thomas Apostle. And then I went to the best experience I've ever had in school, which was St. Rose Academy. And it was an all-girls private school, 280 girls in the whole school.
Oh, wow.
And there was about 15 African-American in the whole school.
Oh, wow.
But it was a wonderful experience. We were all really, really close. And then we also just had great friends throughout everyone who was there. So that was a really good experience for me. And then again, I went back to public school and graduated from George Washington High School. And then from there, I went to UC Berkeley. So
Okay.
again, education is huge in our family.
Sounds like an adventure. And you know what? One of the things that I think is key, what you said, is that because you did go to a lot of schools, private and public, the experiences from those, from being able to navigate both of those. Yeah, that's a wonderful thing to be able to do. So
yes,
it was by design, and that's why you do what you do now.
it was really by design. I remember leaving private school and going to public school in the 4th grade, and we had a reading circle. And I remember at least half the kids couldn't read.
Wow.
And this was 4th grade. And I couldn't believe it. And I
Yeah.
actually went and I told my teacher, I said, you know what? I noticed that the kids in the back, they fool around. And they're the ones who cannot read. So I think you should let me sit in the back because I'm going to do my work. And you should let them sit in the front because then you can
Good
pay
for you.
attention to them. And she looked at me, she said, you will not tell me how I'm going to organize. And I said, okay, I just thought it was a good idea. But
4th grade, and you were in 4th grade.
I was in the 4th grade.
And you had that kind of foresight better than the teacher.
Because it was just so obvious, you know?
And it's still happening
the good
today.
kids, we were sitting in the front and we were going to do our work. And the other kids were fooling around. And it was just like, So I got a real good insight on just life by going to different schools. You really see a huge difference in education.
Wow, that's beautiful. So now, Erika, you are the director of district programs for the San Francisco African American Art and Cultural District. What does your job duties entail? What do you do there?
Okay, so first let me say, because the San Francisco has a cultural district program, and it's easier to explain it because it's a new program. When you think about the Mission or Japantown, there's a couple of districts in the Castro. So these are designated areas that are kind of like a solution to gentrification. When you go to different places in the city and the Mission doesn't look like the Mission anymore. And like Fillmore looks different than it once used to look like as far as culture and natives of those communities. So the city now actually has a cultural district program where we're to preserve culture and history of certain communities. So the Bayview is the official geographic area of the African American Cultural District. And so again, as the director of district projects, my goal is to make sure that other nonprofits, businesses, churches, that their legacy is preserved in our culture. So the first part is just awareness and education about the cultural districts program. And then there's a lot of focus groups that we host, a lot of town halls, just to make sure that these cultures are preserved. We actually have an upcoming town hall, the city has a cultural heritage context statement. And they were just about to pass the legislation, and then we read it, and the African American portion of that is so minimum. We're like, wait, we can't pass this yet.
Okay.
So we are organizing right now a town hall just so that the African American heritage of San Francisco is huge. So we want that to be a part of the context statement. So those are the kinds of things that we are mandated to do. And again, there's several cultural districts throughout the city, and we all collaborate at some point. But again, we each have our designated areas.
Oh, that is beautiful. Good for you, girl. You are always doing something above and beyond. That's what I love about you. So now you have a fascinating story about visiting your very first art gallery event and how it inspired you. Tell me about that story.
Okay, so my mom was a strong activist for me growing up. I saw it all the time and just giving back, and the same that she wanted for us, her children, she wanted for the kids in the community, which was, great education, a nice hot meal, just the basic necessities of life.
Mhm.
And so it's just in my blood to want the same for other people as well. And so I was volunteering at first at the Ella Hill Hutch Community Center while I was in college. And then I was actually hired to work there. And at that time, I was the program director. And we had a gentleman who came to our executive director. He was getting his master's in nonprofit administration at the University of San Francisco. And so each person in that program had to adopt a community. So he basically adopted the Ella Hill Hutch Community Center. And he said he wanted us to elevate, and he wanted us to get exposure to things outside of our community. He wanted to build our board. He wanted to build our fundraising efforts. I mean, he just had a vision for us.
Well, hey, wait a minute, girl. He sounds like a volunteer's dream, an organization's dream.
He was, and I'm so sorry he passed away, but he definitely left a huge impact on all of us. Yeah, Theodore was his name. And so what he wanted to do, he wanted to host this real fancy fundraiser. So we were all thinking we were going to buff the gym floors and rent tables. And he was like, oh no, we are not doing this event where you guys play basketball, So he said, I have a surprise location. So when he told us where it was, it ended up being downtown San Francisco. So I had never been to this place, and I walked in, and to this day, I can just feel the grandeur of it. It was just beautiful. It was an art gallery, and it was just beautiful paintings on the walls. It was just so fresh and bright, and we were all there. And when I say we, I mean our staff, our community.
Right.
And normally we're in this community center,
Right.
Smack dab in the middle of the Western Addition. And so it was just a really good opportunity for us to all be together in like this real fancy space. And so I've held on to that. Like, I just love that feeling. And I felt good about us all experiencing that together. Yeah. And I guess it just kind of planted somewhere in the back of my mind. And I held on to it, but I never really said much about it. And so years later, I think maybe 10 years later, I just had this desire that I wanted to host my birthday party at an art gallery. I wanted other people, my real close friends and family, to just have that same experience. So they were all excited about it. And when I called to talk to the owner of the art gallery, this was a different gallery. This is the Joyce Gordon Gallery over in Oakland, actually. So I called and told them I was going to come and bring some friends. Could I bring some snacks and things like that? And so she said, sure. So then they called back and they said, well, do you guys want to paint? And I was like, do we want to paint? Like, I was just thinking, no, we're just going to, experience the gallery. And she said, no, you guys can paint. And so I immediately said no. And I kind of mentioned it to some of my friends, and they said, yeah, let's paint. And I was so surprised. So I called back and I said, okay, we're going to paint. So it literally took me that day, we finally all gathered. It literally took me an hour to put my paintbrush on a canvas. Like I was just so nervous. I was so out of my comfort zone. I was, okay with like community work and teaching business classes and that kind of thing. But art, that was so not me. And I was just so like, so there was an art coach. He said he's not a teacher, he's a coach. So he coached me through painting a butterfly. And I literally saw that white canvas transform with these beautiful bright oranges and blues and purples. And I had done it. I mean, after the fact, it looks like a 7-year-old probably did it, but it was just so fascinating for me that I did it. And I was just blown away. And
you stepped out of your comfort zone.
I stepped out of my comfort zone. Like it really, I hate for it to sound cliche, but it changed my life.
Yeah.
Because now I paint. And
well, we're not going to even get into that because we're going to let people know in a few minutes how much it really did change your life.
Yeah.
Now, what are the benefits of visiting an art gallery besides enhancing your brain function and awakening your visual imagination? What do you think art galleries do?
So I think it can also be a history lesson.
Absolutely.
And learning about the particular artist. And then you also can learn there's like different techniques to art.
Yes.
Just if you're just not that familiar with the world and you kind of just see on TV, or you may read a novel and it talks about an art gallery. And, they say there's no judgment in art and that art is left up to interpretation. And it's so real, but you just make those connections to everyday life.
And you know what? And so what I find fascinating about that is because of your experience going to that very first gallery, then having that birthday party for yourself at a gallery. And like you said, that was 10 years later, you open Honey Art Studio Art Gallery. Let's talk about that. So how did you throw away your marketing hat and decide, you know what, I'm not doing business plans, which y'all know more. I'm getting ready to start working on this Honey Art Studio. Tell me about that. And congratulations for that too.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm a huge, huge fan of Shark Tank.
Okay.
Like my family, like they know if I'm watching TV, it's probably Shark Tank. So I remember watching an episode and one of the ladies was talking about, she was an entrepreneur instructor for a long time, but she always had a desire to start a business. And she said, you know what, I've been teaching, now it's time. And so I still keep on my marketing hat and I still teach, but it was time for me to jump in the game.
Okay.
And the art, it kind of was, I really feel like it's a gift given to me. I really do. Because like I said, I don't have a background in art. I was scared of art. And since I had this opportunity and it was so life-changing for me, I started hosting art parties. And then somebody said they would pay me for it. And Kelly, that did it. I'm a serial entrepreneur. So as soon as they said that, I was like, oh, okay.
And you know what I found interesting about you is that you were a part of that paint night movement. And, so you were in the beginning stages of that.
I didn't know. I did not know all that was going on. That's why I said, God really gave me a gift. I mean, I'm just like, when people call me and say, they want to set up an art party or they want to come to my studio, I'm still in awe. Like, is this really my life? They're calling me because it's a movement. You're right. It's people are doing paint nights and everywhere.
Yeah.
And it was just, again, like I said, it was just that seed planted so long ago. And it just grew and grew. What really happened was my living room was full of supplies and canvases and brushes. My kids were like, Mom, really? So I was like, okay, I got to get a space. And so that's really how it happened.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just kind of happened for me, honestly.
And you know what? And I remember when you were in Delhi City, your first one, I loved it. And I was like, oh my gosh, she really does have this studio. So now tell me, what are some of the events and the classes that you have? Because not only do you have classes and you host events, but like you said, people can rent your space as well.
Yes.
So tell me about that.
Yeah, so it's an event space, it's an art studio, it's an art gallery. So we just hosted 2 graduation parties, separate events. So like people come and they host graduation parties, birthday parties. We had a Mother's Day dinner. So the space is available for different types of activities, events. We have an upcoming event with UCSF, and they're going to come in and their staff. We're going to host an art party for them as a retreat for them. So there's just multiple reasons people come. And within the space now, we have a fantastic exhibit. We have over 72 images from the book Harlem of the West, and it depicts Black life in photography from 1940s through 1960s. And in the Fillmore, it used to be a really thriving Black community. I mean, it was like businesses, professional services, doctors, attorneys. They had a huge nightlife. Lena Horne and Billie Holiday.
So you got Billy D. Williams on your mind,
right? Yeah, right. He might have been there because when you see those photos, everybody used to come to the Fillmore. Like it was really the Harlem of the West.
I love looking at those photos in your studio. They're
amazing.
Gorgeous. Yeah.
Yes. So
in the black and white, which makes it even better.
Right. Yes. I actually had someone come in and visit, and they said they want to recreate that with some modern day people in our community, but they wanted black and white. So,
okay, nice.
Just that feel of black and white. But so in addition to event space, people really come and just want to see the gallery. We have schools, University High School came, their social justice department, and they took a tour of the space and wanted to learn more about the Fillmore. My alma mater, which I mentioned earlier, Dr. William L. Cobb, it's an elementary school not too far from us. They come on a regular basis. They're 4th and 5th graders, and we teach them history. We had a film group come 2 days ago from Paris, and they heard about the images, and they came and took photos and asked questions about, the exhibit. So yeah, the space, and it's also, honestly, there was a group of us in the space one evening, and we were sitting in the window so you can see us. It was probably about 7 or 8, and this guy literally double parked his car, walked in, and he said, "What is this?" And we're like, "It's Honey Art Studio." And he's like, "No, I haven't seen a space where Black people are in a business, just being in a space." He said, "I haven't seen this in so long. I just wanted to come in and see what was going on."
Oh, how sweet is that?
Yeah, that was just like amazing because, Fillmore does look different than what it used to look like, And so for people to feel comfortable, like I said, people come from Paris and people come from Antioch, just for a safe space, and then to just, kind of feel Black culture again in the Fillmore.
Yeah. And you know what? And that's why what you're doing is so important. It is so important that you have brought that inspiration that you got to life, you know what I mean? And now being able to share it and educate people, and it's historical. You could be it's kind of like you are part of the Harlem Renaissance kind of movement, preserving that Blackness. And I love that about you. So now tell me, what are some of the classes that you offer?
Okay, so Kelly, even when I walked back into your classroom and I was teaching a marketing class, I think I pulled you to the side and said, well, Kelly, I
You
still want
did.
to know how to sew.
You did. You
Yes.
did. Yeah.
So thanks to you, Kelly, you developed our sewing curriculum. So we still teach sewing classes, beginning sewing classes. And then we also just have a variety of art classes. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know. I think a lot of people do it. You're late night, maybe 1, 2 in the morning, and you're scrolling and you see these like strange kind of projects people are working on,
Yes.
real quick snippets of like people pouring paint or coloring tennis shoes or just different
Yeah.
crazy things. And then they come out with such a fantastic project. Well, that's what we
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
I literally look on YouTube and I'll see a project and I'll say, hey guys, if you want to come in and explore and try this project, this is the space to do it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we get so caught on our phones and we're so fascinated with what other people are doing. I really like to create these experiences so people can come in and feel the paint for themselves, look at the different colors and try different things. Again, getting out of that comfort zone the same way I did when I used to be so scared to paint. It's
Yes.
like, no, come in, let's actually try this and let's do it together.
Yeah.
So we do graffiti, all kinds of art classes. It's just the space and it's for adults. It started off as being a space for adults. But after a while, when you have art, of course, kids are going to get
You gotta have
involved.
the
So
kids. You
you gotta
gotta
have
have
the
the
kids.
kids. You
So
gotta
we
have the
do,
kids.
most of our classes are interchangeable, and sometimes we build classes that unify different generations as well. So we'll have
Okay.
seniors and youth working together. Sometimes the seniors just want to hang out on their own, and that's fine too. So we have all different kinds of art classes, and the fashion design program is one of my favorites.
Oh, that's beautiful. I think it's awesome. And you know what? I remember when I was actually teaching one of the sewing classes for you, and then COVID came along and it interrupted our program. So we never did get to decorate the jean jackets
Right,
because I
right.
had really, but at least we did get the hand sewing. They were making the pillows,
And they
but
make the pillows. Yeah.
yeah, so it was wonderful. So now tell me, what can we expect from you in the next 5 years? What you got going on, girl? Because I know you got something.
Okay, so one is just gonna just be like totally different. And then the other one is an extension of, honestly, Kelly, what you helped me to establish. And the fashion program is something, again, that's just, it's more to it than me just wanting to learn how to sew. Fashion in urban communities, Black culture is everything, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I believe other cultures appreciate it, but I don't think that we really understand the value. And designers, clothes and bags and all, I have nothing against it. However, again, I don't think we value our own worth. And I really want to take the fashion program to a whole nother level. And I want to establish a manufacturing space in the city that everyone is welcome, but I really want young Black people to understand the history of fashion. Like you teach, you go way beyond just the sewing machine. We got to take
Yeah.
classes before we get to the sewing machine when we do.
Right. Exactly.
Just really
Exactly.
understand and understanding our place in fashion. And you even taught about how the sewing stitches were connected to communication and slavery,
Yes.
being able to escape or just to be able to talk to one another. I mean, those things matter. If I didn't sit with you, I would have never known that.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
just understand how deep fashion is in world culture. And I
Yeah.
just really want us to have a significant space in that. And so
Yeah.
I really want to build a whole, I don't know what to call it, because I don't know if it's like a
I think it
school.
is a phenomenal idea. And as you were saying that, it made me think about I can't think of the Black designer's name that made Jackie Onassis' wedding dress,
You told me
and
that.
how she was definitely kept undercover, real
Right.
quiet. You know, we don't
Yes,
get
you
to,
wouldn't know that.
yeah, she doesn't get to blow up. So yeah, so I understand, and our kids are so creative.
They're
And then
so
if you really
creative.
think about fashion, when you think about the Tommy Hilfigers and the rest of these people, they got the ideals from the Black
Yes.
community. This, you know, our kids show what's going to be
Yes.
next.
You know what's
And
next.
so, and so why aren't we being the
Yes.
ones being
Yeah.
paid for this? So
Exactly.
I understand what you're trying to do. I think it's a phenomenal concept, and I say go for it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I know you're going to do it. You're going to absolutely, you're going to do it. Yeah, and I think it's a beautiful thing.
So yeah, that's definitely where I'm focusing on. And then just quickly, my other life is every time I visit Hawaii, I always look for places to stay. Like that's where I want to be. And so I
Oh, okay.
probably won't like leave like I thought I was, because I still got work to do here. But I do want to have a travel excursion business in Hawaii.
Oh, okay.
Because I know a lot of people travel to Hawaii, and even when it was like 13 of us, my cousins and I, we all went. They were there 2 days ahead of me. When I got there, I was like, okay, what's going on? What are we doing? They didn't have any plans. So
Okay.
I got on the internet, I got on the phone, and we went sailing, we went snorkeling, we went to different islands, and they were like, "Well, how did you do that?" And I'm like, "You guys, we can't just sit around. We're in Hawaii."
Right.
So, but I know, like, that's just how my brain works, you know, Kelly. So,
I love
I
it.
mean,
I
they were
love it.
so fascinated, and so I would love to just be able to do that for other people. And like I said, everybody goes to Hawaii at least once in a lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so that's something else. That's totally, like I said, on a different spectrum, but I do plan to do travel excursions in Hawaii.
Okay. And then so what are your what's going to happen with the gallery? What's your vision for that? What are you doing with
Um,
that?
so oddly enough, we have a summer camp going on right now, and so we took the kids to the Jelly Belly factory in Fairfield.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah, and so right across the street they have a museum, and
Mm.
again, you know, when you're in someone else's space, I'm in my art gallery all the time, and I still appreciate it, but then now I have a new appreciation to have more descriptions, because we have lots of images and we have just, you know, little bio cards. But I really want the art studio to be even more of a historical context for whatever the exhibit is. So I
Okay.
definitely will continue the art gallery and the maker space and being a place for creativity. Definitely want to continue with that. I want to connect more with a couple of the colleges to get students more involved in the gallery space, but definitely I'm not done with that space yet.
Okay. 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 And it's a beautiful space. I loved it.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed being there. So yeah. So now we're going to switch gears a little bit
Okay.
here. But yeah, you are so fascinating. You have a lot going on. You're just so much energy, so much vision in that head of yours. And the interesting thing about you is that you make it happen. You bring it to life. And I love that because I'm very much like that. You know, if I think of something and I see the end result, then it's done.
Then why
I know
not
what I
do
got
it?
to do. Oh yeah.
And
Oh
guess
yeah.
what? You're my big sister. So, I mean, we think alike.
Yeah, girl, I'm telling you. So now, Erika, tell me this.
Mhm.
Name three people that have inspired you.
Okay.
And I know
Definitely.
there's probably more, and
Yeah.
you know, this always throw people off, but and it's not that you, when you do mention the three, that you're excluding anybody else. It's just that right
Mhm.
now,
Yeah.
just the three.
Yeah, definitely my mother. Um, like I said, she, you know, she definitely wanted what was best for us, for her kids. But then also, like I said, for everybody in the community. I remember honestly one time, I asked her, I said, no, I went to my cousin's house. And
Okay.
when we went to their house, there was like, my auntie was loving and giving, but there were certain things we couldn't touch because it belonged to our cousin. And so at our house, if I said like my cousins or my friends couldn't touch something, my mother would say, "What do you mean? Like, everybody can touch and do whatever they want, you know? And
Mhm.
I asked her one day, I said, how come nothing just belongs to us? You know, why do we have to share everything, you know? And she said, you have to be grateful for everything. Nothing belongs to you, you know? And as a kid, that was kind of heart-wrenching. But now I get it, you know? And she was just so loving. And there's so many kids who did not have half of what we had. And we didn't have that much either. But, you know, there's just always someone who needs a little bit more. And my mother
Yeah.
just really, really emphasized that in our life and in our family. And I'm just so grateful for that. You know, even as a Black person, and, you know, I guess sometimes people don't understand that Black people are, you know, not all the same, you know. And
Right.
so even
Is
as
it
a
really? Are
yeah,
you
right.
sure?
Yeah, you know, so as a Black person and just the level of exposure that we had, I know I'm more privileged than some other people, you know, and
Sure.
so I appreciate that, and I appreciate my mother for making me know that. So
Yeah.
definitely my mother. Um, Let me see. So about, man, this was like a while back. I was somehow, for some reason, I was going through my mother's things and I found my report card from when I was 7. And Sister Una was my teacher, second grade teacher. And she said, Erica is going to be an asset to her community. And I was
Oh.
7. This was second grade. And I don't know what I said or did for her to say that. But I'm gonna be honest, sometimes community work can be difficult.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
you don't realize there's so much politics in trying to help somebody, you know, or so
Yes.
much resistance when you're trying to help somebody, or how much you have to spend your own money, you know, like in the name of doing good, you know. So I mean, so there's a lot. And sometimes I think part of the reason I want to go to Hawaii is because you just kind of get a break from all that.
Yes.
Um, and then so then when I'm just like honestly frustrated or fed up, I remember what Sister Una said, and I was 7. So I know like that came from a bigger place. You know, I feel like God really has me doing the work that I'm doing. So I'm so grateful that she actually wrote it, and you know,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can reference that. And then a third person, I would say my husband. My husband, he was originally my high school sweetheart. We both went our separate ways, and we've been back together now for 13 years. He's incarcerated, and he's so supportive. Um, and there were times, because I said I'm a serial entrepreneur, I'm a community advocate. Sometimes I've had a regular job and I've quit because I'm like, that's not where my heart is. That's not where my passion is. And even from where he is, he will help with resources to support our family.
Oh.
Sometimes his family will send him money for him and he'll send it to me. And um, yeah, and just being like a real cheerleader, because he sometimes he can't believe, like, you want to do what? Like,
He's probably so proud of you. I'm
yeah,
sure he's very
and
proud
he
of you.
really, really is. And
Yeah.
we even hosted an art exhibit together from while he was incarcerated.
Okay.
And he's not an artist himself, but he knows how important art was to me. So he
Okay.
gathered up a lot of the guys in the facility where he is who does art, and he sent them to me, and we did this virtual art show. And he's typically like not that kind of guy, you know. So he's going around asking people for artwork, and you know, so that he's just so supportive. So I'm
Oh.
really grateful for
You know,
him.
it would be nice if you did a gallery display of the art that they've done in
That's
your studio.
nice. That would be really nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be wonderful. That would be a great way to thank him for that.
Yeah.
You know, when you talked about your second grade teacher, it made me think about what you said to your fourth grade teacher. So you was a little
Mm,
spitfire.
I was. I must have been. Yeah.
So you
You
was a
know,
community activist then and didn't
I
know,
was.
so you were in training.
Yes. No, right. Yeah. And I just want to share this story because sometimes people don't understand. Right next door to our art gallery in our community, you know, I'm in the Fillmore, and right next door is Japantown. And I actually just went to Japantown yesterday, and I used to hang out in Japantown as a kid. Just a, you know, a nice area to be. And I don't think people question or have a problem with Japantown or Chinatown or even the Mission. But whenever you want to acknowledge something for Black people, it's almost, there's some kind of resistance, and it's kind of hard to explain. And so it's not that we aren't welcoming to everybody. We just want people to understand our culture too. And so I'm saying all that to say, as it relates to schools and why this is so significant, during one of our transitions from private school to public school, we went to a school in the community, and at the time it was predominantly Black. So when we went to the school, most of the kids were Black. And my mom enrolled my sister and I, and we were leaving out of almost out the door, and we saw like 5 young white girls, and they were like my sister and I, they were our age, you know. So my mother said, well, where are you guys going? Because we didn't see any white kids the whole time. And so they said, oh, we're going upstairs. And she said, well, what is upstairs? So they said, our class. And she said, you're in class in this school? Like, because we didn't see any white kids.
Oh,
So they said,
wow.
yeah, our class is upstairs. So we're literally leaving out the door. My mother went right back, and we went back to the registrar's office. So my mother said, is there another 4th and 5th grade? And so the people in the administrator's office kind of looking strange. And they're like, yeah. And she said, well, where is that? And they said, upstairs. And she said, well, why didn't you tell us anything about that? And so the administrator said, oh,
Wow.
it's a gifted program. So my mother said, well, I want my girls in a gifted program. So they said, well, they have to test, and it's the middle of the school. She said, test them. You know, so we tested, we passed. And so now we're in the gifted program. And it's just
Wow.
like, it was just not even introduced or in, you know,
So had you guys not seen those girls come downstairs, you wouldn't have known about that
we wouldn't have
program.
known. And they just,
Wow.
I don't know if it's an automatic exclusion, or if they automatically feel like we couldn't do, you know, so it's just those kinds of things, why Black culture is so important, and what kind of impact it has from generation to generation. It's just this underlying exclusion that's out there, you know, and then there's just so much access that we don't have even now, you know.
Yeah.
That was a long
Yeah.
time ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
So nothing has.
I got it honest.
I love it. You know what? And that's why I'm so glad that you're doing the work that you're doing, because it's important.
Mhm.
You know, I've spent my life very much like you, teaching and making sure that I was tapping and waking up African American kids and
Yes,
adults, you know,
and
just, you
adult.
know, passing that torch, just, you know, teaching what I can and hoping that you can wake up as many as possible.
Yes,
And, you know, that's all you do. You know,
that's what we do.
if all of us do that, do you know we'll be a better place?
Right.
We'll be in a better place for
It'll
it.
be a better place.
So now tell me this, you know, just listening to you and the stories that you have, there's so many stories. So I know that we're going to have to come back at some point
Yes.
and,
Okay.
and do this again. But tell me, Erika, what would the 9-year-old Erika, little girl Erika, say to the grown woman Erika today? What would she say to you?
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, now you're getting personal.
Of course.
I could do community and all that, but now that's personal. Okay, so this is about to take a turn. So my brother and my sister and I, we're all 11 months apart, and I'm in the middle. So my sister, it's my sister, it's me, then it's my brother, and then we have an older brother, and he actually passed away last year.
Okay, sorry
So
about that.
yes, so my sister and I, 11 months apart, and I'm small. I see people in person, and when they see me, they're like, because we've been on virtual and Zoom, they're like, I didn't know you were so little. So I'm small, 4'11", 4'10" and a half actually. And my sister's not that much taller, but anything other than under 5 feet is like really little. So I think she's like maybe 5'4".
Okay.
And I was always the smart one, and she was always the pretty one.
Mm.
And I think just being a girl, no matter what, you want to be pretty, so it was good that I was always smart, but it was just a difference. And so I think I don't know. I felt invisible at 9. And so I think I would tell my 9-year-old self that God created me to look the way I look, the size that I am, and embrace it and not feel less than because of it. Because, I just always felt like, invisible because my sister, and she has such a bright personality. And I was like really, really shy. And now she's like my best friend, and she's so proud of me. And I don't know. People made such a difference between us, and I took it so personally. So, I would tell my 9-year-old self that in the end, it's going to be okay. It's okay to be the smart one.
And you, girl, you know what? And you're also very beautiful too. So don't get it
Thank
twisted.
you.
Don't get it twisted. So yes. So I don't know what your sister looks like, but I know what you look like. And I think not only are you smart, you're beautiful, but you are little. I can't help you there. But then so am I.
You can't change that. Yeah.
So am I. But you know what? And I never think about it until people point it out to me.
Right. Oh
Because I
my
feel just as
goodness.
tall as anybody
Right.
else. You know what I mean? It's just
Man,
like,
they will
oh,
let you know. Oh
right.
my
And then I'm just like,
goodness.
oh, I didn't know that I was short.
Right.
Does
I
that
didn't
matter?
know that. Yeah,
Right. Does it matter?
Yeah.
It's like, don't get me started. So yeah, so
Right.
no. Yeah, so I think that 9-year-old story was very triggering for you. I did not know that, but I think you were able to tell that little girl was able to speak how she felt,
Yeah.
and then how she has encouraged the grown woman you to become who you are.
Yeah.
So your sister's beauty didn't stop you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true.
I guess
And
that put it in a nutshell.
I'll say this too. I think like towards the end of high school, my sister and I, we had a lot of the same friends. And when we would be out, someone may point something out negatively about somebody else, or say somebody was ugly, or talk about their hair. And instinctively, my sister and I would both say, people aren't ugly. Like, nobody gets to decide what they look like when they come into this world. And, so, and my friends would look at us like, why can't we say somebody is ugly? I'm like, that's so hateful. That's so, you can damage a person.
Absolutely.
So I think whatever was said to me, I really am sensitive for anything that someone else may see as lacking in another person, so maybe if I was taller, I might be a little more conceited, or, I don't know. But now I do look at, I mean, nobody gets to decide how they're going to come into this world,
Yeah.
So I think I would tell my 9-year-old self also, again, don't be so focused on what you look like. And, like there's so much more to life, and, those
Yes.
things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Yes.
We all see each other, and half the time when people are looking at you, they're not looking at a physical beauty. They're looking at that inner beauty,
Exactly.
that heart that you have.
Yeah.
So now, Erika, as we close the show,
Mhm.
would you leave the audience with some parting words and remind them how they can be a part of Honey Art Studio, whether it's
Yeah.
renting a space, whether it's hosting an event, whether it's
Yeah.
collaborating, whether it's donating?
Yes.
Say something to these folks, girl.
All that, all that. Okay, so one thing I will say quickly, because I was just talking to my cousin, and she was just saying her family owned lots of businesses and property in San Francisco, and they no longer have that anymore. So she said, I can see how people can get depressed on having things and then not having. And I said, I want you to research Colonel Sanders, because he was well past 50 when he opened the first Kentucky Fried Chicken. So
Mhm.
saying all that to say, it is never too late.
Yeah.
And I would just love to encourage. I hate saying it, but I'm gonna say it for the benefit of somebody else. I turned 50 this year, and I just would have never imagined I was 50 years old. And there's still so much more that I plan on doing, and I'm God willing, I'm still alive. I'm gonna pursue it. So I just want to encourage somebody. If you have that dream, just go for it. Just take one step at least. And then you can always get in touch with me, and I'm still a business coach, so I can help you with that as well. And then at Honey Art Studio, like Kelly noted, we're an event space, we're an art gallery, we're just a gathering space. We have First Friday, fish fry, and paint nights every first Friday of the month at 7 p.m. So you're welcome to just come by. And
Where are
then
you located? Where are you
so
located?
we are in San Francisco, 1981 Sutter Street, right in between Fillmore and Webster, right in the middle of the block, near Japantown, like I mentioned before. We are online. Our website is honeyartstudio.org, Instagram, Honey Artist, and we're also on Facebook, Honey Art Studio. And yes, if you're looking for a nice, unique, quaint space for an event, for an activity. And then we also do mobile. We'll come to you if you want an art party or paint night, paint sip. They call it different things. We are your go-to. And then look out for us in our upcoming sewing and fashion design programs as well.
That is awesome. That is so awesome. So, Erika, I would like to thank you for being a guest on Straight Talking with Kelly, where real conversations happen. Definitely will have you back. To my listening audience, I'd like to thank you for joining us. Please come back, share, like, and
Subscribe.
think about it. You might be next. I'm always looking for really interesting, talented, creative guests. So hit me up if you're interested. So anyways, Erika, we will definitely do this again, and congratulations. And I wish you nothing but the best at the studio.
Thank you, Kelly.
And I know I'll be there. I know I'll come by and say hi. And absolutely,
Thank you
absolutely.
for everything, Kelly.
You're welcome. Thank you for doing what you're doing in our community. It is definitely needed, and I think it's awesome. Take care.
Good night.